Okay, I think it's time to start. Good morning to everyone. On behalf of School of Science, Navrachana University, we welcome all the participants and we are thankful to our experts, Dr. Arjun Mehta from Gujarat Life Sciences Private Limited, Vadodara, and Dr. T. Rajmanar from Sun Pharmaceuticals Industry Limited. Welcome, Dr. Mehta. Welcome, Dr. Rajmanar.
Thank
This
you,
is a
Thank you.
attempt. Basically, this is our humble attempt to propagate the or disseminate information regarding career opportunities in the field of science. And this is the time of the year where the HSC results are out. Even the graduate courses, the examinations are over, and the students are at a dilemma and at a juncture where they need to have guidance regarding career options. So there are some questions that I have received from students, and basically we'll try to have this interactive. But before starting, I would like to have some introductory comments and the observations from both the experts. I will start with Dr. Mehta. Dr. Mehta, post-pandemic and even during the pandemic, the industry situation changed drastically. Pharmaceutical industry and diagnostics and other industries, in case of life sciences, they came to the forefront. Not that they were not at the forefront, but the scenario changed drastically, and the opportunities also, I think, have increased. That is what we believe. So can you shed some light on this particular aspect, how the industry has changed and what are the options that the students can explore?
Sure, Dr. Patil. Thank you very much for having me over. And first of all, I want to congratulate all the students who have joined here, and congratulate especially because you have chosen a very, very exciting field in life sciences or chemistry or fundamental sciences, as they used to call it. What you said, Dr. Patil, is very right. It took a pandemic for us to realize how much the basic sciences or the fundamental sciences are of importance. Be it medicines, be it hygiene, cleanliness, be it understanding for sanitation, all of those things suddenly came up, and not just in the technical field or the scientific field, but also in the behavior, in the lifestyle. And the beauty of all of this is that when you talk about any of these subjects, we have fundamental science or life science connected to it. I'll give an example of what we have been doing. Our main area of focus has been agriculture and environmental biotechnology. But it was because of the pandemic that we came up with 3 products, which were completely different than what we were doing in agriculture. And we came up with home cleaning product range, which replaced the phenols and the columns and all the other chemical-based products that were being used. This just made us realize that there is a strong growing awareness amongst people when it comes to good food, good quality of life, good hygiene, staying away from chemicals, and accepting that something which is natural and organic is going to be the way of life if one wants to be healthy and have a healthy lifestyle. All of this gives an opportunity to somebody who has studied fundamental science or life science. Right from good food, good agricultural produce, to waste management, to pest control, to stopping use of harmful chemicals at home, to having a better lifestyle, to understand the bioengineering of the body, to get into a field where health is of the most important aspect. All of these things put together will require a huge range of life scientists So I think the opportunities for people in fundamental sciences opened up tremendously. And in every single aspect of life, there is an opportunity waiting for these students.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Mehta. Dr. Rajmanar, how did the pharma industry go ahead?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Dr. Patil. Hello, good morning to everyone who is there on this discussion. In terms of pharma, I'm happy that the pharma, with respect to what we produce and what we serve to the world, we are the pharmacy of the world. That means most of the medicines produced in India are being used by everyone around the world. And more than 40-60% of medicines are used in Europe and America. The important thing is that the current scenario is that how do you efficiently produce pharmaceuticals in terms of atom economy or in terms of the environmental progress. It's not only environment and ecology, because whatever you discharge in terms of effluents and things, it's also going to pollute the whole environment and the soil and the living organisms and everything. So that's very, very important. And the way we responded in terms of producing vaccines to save the lives, that's something very significant in terms of India, what we have seen of having vaccines, our own vaccines from the two of the companies, which saved millions of people. That's our capability. So when I talk about the capability, that as a science, especially chemistry is an enabling science. When you talk of enabling, it serves in terms of producing colors, whether it is cloth or whether it's a paint, or whether it is something, or life-saving drugs, or agrochemicals. So we used to really make a lot of tons and tons of pesticides. But the current scenario is that you don't need tons and tons of materials which can damage the ecology and environment. You can make, picomolar concentrations of pheromones to control the pests. So that's the best way of treating the pest control and improving the crop production. So this is something, a science which has been evolving very fast, how to be a sustainable agricultural farming without using a lot of chemicals, and sustainable pharma business without using a lot of chemicals, where atom economy and efficiency, productivity and throughput are being implemented. So we need to be very careful, because it's not only an enabling science, but if you don't work with care and with the skill, what is required, probably maybe next few decades down the line, we would be polluting the whole environment. No one would be able to live. So we have a huge opportunity in terms of what one can contribute to the global health, global economy. Not only it's in Indian health or Indian economy. When we talk about the pharmaceuticals, it's both in terms of health from Indian aspect as well as the international aspect, as the universal aspect, and also in economic things which we can bring into prosperity of our country and our people. So there is a significant opportunity in terms of doing things new and making very different going forward.
Okay. Thanks, Dr. Atmanar. Dr. Mehta, there are a lot of undergraduate students who pursue BSc in fields of microbiology, biochemistry, and even biomedical sciences. So what are the kind of opportunities or the career profiles that a microbiology student can venture into as far as industry is concerned?
See, microbiology is something which has been there forever. To give you a classic example, the first microbiology application was done in 7000 BC when somebody made the first beer. So fermentation has been forever. People have made cheese and yogurt and bread 4000, 6000 BC and, in those times. So if you talk about microbiology, it is one science which was explored, in the very beginning of civilization. The advantage today that these students have is that so much research has been done in microbiology and so little has been done in application that for them, any area that they pick up, agriculture, environmental, marine, bio, any field that they want to pick up, there is a huge amount of research which is sitting there to be applied into, made into application through products and processes. So just to, put things in perspective, I think what is very important for the students right now to understand or to decide more than anything else is what kind of career path are they looking for. And fortunately, we can break it down to two. One is if you are interested in the research area, where you essentially pick up, focus on or narrow down on one or two topics and then work on it for a very long time. And then interesting researches can come out. Or second is the application area, where you have an interesting combination of life sciences along with maybe a master's in application or even an MBA kind of a combination, and then get into areas where commercialization of microbiology or biotechnology is happening, and that is happening very fast. And believe me, when I say this, we have a biotechnology setup, and what we need today is good managers. So basically, people who understand life sciences or microbiology or biotechnology or agricultural sciences, and who can manage people, who can manage products, who can manage processes, and basically manage the operation side of it. There is a big gap in this. So if somebody is looking at the application side, there is a huge opportunity in any field. I mean, as Dr. Rajamana just said, that vaccines and pharmaceuticals and things like nutraceuticals and probiotics, that is all growing. But you have to look at the affinity first or your aptitude, and then decide whether you want to go in for what is called a research-oriented career path or application-oriented career path. So, Dr. Patil, probably I'll like to answer questions when they have more on the application side of it. But currently, just to name a few things, I have made a quick list of things where microbiologists and biotechnologists have been in demand. And I have specifically made this list, which is very different from your regular things that we study at college. So there is a whole new area of environmental attorneys which is coming up. So somebody who understands environmental law and also understands basic life sciences. Every single corporate, every single country is going to need an environmental expert who also understands law, who also understands the regulatory policies. So it's going to be a dramatically different field, but somebody coming from a basic fundamental science background will do really well in this. Financial analysts, this is completely different. Like I chose biology because I did not like maths and economics. And suddenly there is a whole new area of financial analysts which has come up where people want life scientists and environmentalists to participate. Counselors, genetical counselors. So there's so much of understanding of DNA or importance of DNA in our lives and genetics that genetic counselors are now becoming part of practically every single medical institution. Climate change analysts and climate change experts. I mean, this is something that everybody is going to have one. For those who don't know, a climate change department is a must in every country. And by default, the head of the state. So here, the prime minister is the chairman of the climate change department. It is that important. Diverging a little bit on the medical side, you can be allergists, audiologists, conservationists, epidemiologists, food science experts, hydrologists, marine biologists, landscape architects. I think the field is open. So like I said, if you've done life sciences, the name itself suggests that anything that is to do with living system or life, you can be part of it. But first and foremost, you need to decide whether you want to go into a field which is research-oriented or application-oriented.
Thanks, Dr. Mehta. You brought it altogether a different perspective and some non-conventional fields for career opportunities. Dr. Rajmanar, we have a lot of students who pursue BSc chemistry as a major, but then they also opt for masters, and especially organic chemistry, analytical chemistry are in demand. So at times, a student, though they pursue masters in organic chemistry, they try to venture into field of analytical chemistry or quality assurance. So what are the major differences between these two fields, and how judiciously a student can choose the career in industry with
Sure.
these two branches knowledge? Yeah.
If you look into chemistry, there is it's a very broad and a lot of avenues and opportunities in industry. With a chemistry background, if I just mention one aspect, say analytical chemistry. So you have analytical chemistry of, say, pharmaceuticals, which are small molecules, analytical chemistry of biologicals, which is very different than small molecules, you know, uh, method development and validations. And there is also bioanalyticals. When we do the clinical trials, all those things, the PKPD analysis, all those things, they are very different. When you talk about analyticals of polymorphic substances of drugs, that's very different. You need to know what is XRD, what is DSC, what is TGM, and one can be very specialized in each of these small area, which is very much required. I mean, you cannot be doing everything and anything, but one needs to be very specific based on what he has special interest and knowledge to choose it, because it's not getting a job. What you enjoy and what one could contribute as a part of his staying in the organization is very important. So there is a lot of opportunities, not only that analytical in terms of X-ray, polymorphism, or there is also an aspect of drug discovery. I mean, lots are happening in India nowadays. How do one could develop drugs? We have seen in terms of Covaxin from Bharat Biotech and Covishield from Serum Institute. It happened, in a less than a year. It's not that, I mean, everything happens just like that, but everybody's scientific inputs and understanding and expertise would be required of producing such things. We also produce several of the drugs like favipiravir. There are several things, I mean, which were required. I mean, that was produced in no time, so that the patients could be treated in, in time to save their lives. So the persons with capability. The second aspect is that it's not that chemistry just happens. It's something one needs to look into. How do I do chemistry? Because in chemistry, it is one thing, you put something and you take out what we wanted, but the unwanted stuff most of the times in pharma is more than what you wanted. So how that one would look into the atom economy of your process and turnaround time of your process and productivity of your process and raw material inventory of your process and quality of your process, meeting your product with respect to ICH guidelines, and also the limit of genotoxic impurities. All those things are very, very essential. It's not only doing science as a chemistry, but in terms of what do I deliver in terms of a product which has so much attributes in terms of quality, in terms of stability, in terms of performance, in terms of the product going into formulation, the product can be delivered as a product in the human use. All those things are important. So one would be able to need to understand internally what is the actual strength and what he would like to do, whether he wants to go into analytical, whether he wants to go into bioanalytical, whether he wants to go into biological analytical methods, whether he wants to go into the drug discovery or process chemistry and or technology transfer. There are several ways of looking into.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Dr. Mehta, there is another confusion which students have most of the time, that whether undergraduation or post-graduation especially, is it good enough, or they should go and pursue doctoral studies uh, for career advancement. So or are there enough opportunities after masters? So that's a dilemma that they have.
Uh, let me give you, I'll tell you an interesting story here. I have a friend who is a neurosurgeon in Baroda. He studied for almost 42 years. He did specialization medicine, obviously, all that he had to do, and then he did specialization and super specialization. And at the age of 42, he got into a hospital and practically started his career. Now, one day he was sitting and he said that there is too much stress. Neurosurgery is a very stressful job. So he said, let me go and get a pet for myself. So he went to Ahmedabad and he said, I'll pick up a nice dog. So it would be a good stress buster for me. The background of it is that he was offered 5 lakh rupees a month. That was like his salary as a doctor. So he would earn something like a good 60 lakhs a year. This was a few years back. Now he goes to Ahmedabad and he says that I want to buy a dog, and he goes through this dog breeder. And there are a variety of dogs that the person has. So it starts talking to him, and he said, what do you do? He said, I'm just a dog breeder. तुमने क्या पढ़ाई वढ़ाई की, क्या किया है? He says, no, मैं तो सर 10th तक पढ़ा था, फिर then there was some problem in the family, तो मैंने पढ़ाई छोड़ दी है, और उसके बाद किसी ने मुझे सिखाया डॉग्स को कैसे संभालना है, और मैंने डॉग ब्रीडिंग शुरू कर दिया है. और so he said, okay, give me a nice pup. He gave him a nice beagle for about 60,000 rupees. And then my friend asked him, तो तुम कितना कमाते हो साल का? He said, sir, 45 से 50 lakh रुपया कमाता हूँ. Now this fellow is studied 10th and doing dog breeding, and that the friend of mine has studied till 42 years of age, is a super specialist. No doubt he is a brilliant doctor. He has a fantastic career. That if you are looking at, let's say, only making money, then honestly, it doesn't matter what kind of profession or what kind of career are you in. The vada pav, tasty vada pav guy in Nizampura makes close to 1.5 to 2 crores a year. So there is no comparison, when it comes to professions. And I tell this because there was a GST raid at his place and they discovered close to 3 crore rupees in cash. So the point is that if you like the subject, and if you are clear that if you want to go in, as I said earlier, that first of all, your aptitude has to decide. If you are interested in something from the research point of view, then, sky is the limit, because you can get into academics, you can get into research institutes and work on a single or couple of subjects for a very long time and, enjoy every moment thoroughly. It's a longish career, but if that is your aptitude, if patience is your virtue, then something like that works well. When you talk about making money, I think life science, offers tremendous opportunities. I've just listed down a few things over here. Now, this has nothing to do with how much have you studied. It could be your bachelor's level, it could be your master's level, or a PhD. So I've listed down basic professions then one can have in Baroda with an investment of anywhere between 3 to 15 lakh rupees. Tissue culture laboratories will get you anywhere between 25 lakhs to 1 crore a year of income. Basic organic farming, you hire farms, you don't even need to be farmers, can get you anywhere between 15 to 50 lakh rupees. This is all for the investment of between 3 to 15 lakhs. Okay, so practically manageable by most. If you get into floriculture business, it will give you anywhere from 15 to 25 lakh rupees a year. You set up a small nursery, it will give you anywhere between 10 to 15 lakhs. A dairy, or, there are small outlets for cheese and all, which are now coming up in Baroda, will give you anywhere from 15 to 25 lakhs a year. You start pearl culture, freshwater pearls and all. There are a lot of lakes around Baroda which could be taken on rent. That's a different thing, but that will give you 15 to 25 lakhs. Pet industry, dog breedings, keeping birds and things like that give you 20 to 50 lakh rupees a year. Now, why I'm giving you these examples is that this is something which is very disorganized. When you talk about a floriculture or a nursery, or dairy or a pet industry, most of this is being managed by people who have either not even completed their school or are doing out of force. Now, just imagine that with a life science background, if you get into a profession like this, how much acumen can you bring to this? Imagine setting up a horticulture, have a horticulture setup like a hydroponic setup or a greenhouse and make organic vegetables. The market for you is immediately available. I have a friend who has a restaurant. I think most of you would have known or gone to 22nd Parallel, which is the South Indian restaurant. They purchase almost 1.5 to 2 lakh rupees worth of vegetable every month. Who delivers it to them? Some tempo fellow comes, he picks up vegetables from various farmers, not even farmers, various markets, and delivers it to them. They are saying, and this is only one such outlet, they have 5 outlets in Vadodara now. And they are saying that if there is somebody who can deliver it directly from the farm, guarantee us that it is nicely grown, organic, without any toxicities and all, we don't mind paying 15,000-20,000 rupees more. So there you have it. You straight have a market available for you. So if you talk about basic sciences, the applications are tremendous. We all talk about dignity of labor. We say that we have studied in universities and we have done masters and PhDs, and how can we do something like this? And that is where we need to change our attitude. There are so many opportunities in smaller things. Pest control. It is something which is completely changing now. People have had problems about pests in households, but they are now looking for organic alternatives and there are none. People are ready to pay as much amount for a neem-based or a Karanj-based biopesticide to be used in the home rather than the dirty chemicals that will take away half of your life. So these are all opportunities which have opened up. So to specifically answer your question, Dr. Patil, whatever field, whatever passion once the student feels, wants to pursue, then studying specifically for that is more important. So masters in that particular subject may be very important, but probably much more useful would be doing maybe an MBA in finance or MBA in marketing, and then taking the basic understanding of life sciences and applying it innovatively in commercial. I did a PhD in virology and especially on the fermentation technology much after I had set up the company, because I knew exactly how this is going to help me. So I think first, that clarity of what your aptitude is, and second, how you want to approach the subject, that should decide your course of what you want to do further, rather than just going into the college, finishing bachelor's, master's, PhD. You can always take a break. You can always try to relate to what you really want to do, and then choose a further subject accordingly.
Okay, thanks, Dr. Mehta. Dr. Rajmanar, as far as chemistry is concerned, other than industry, what are the research options, especially with the advent of IITs, NITs, ICERs? How is the research scenario and how it can help in the industry from the industry point of view if someone pursues doctoral research?
Okay. The wealth of any country would depend on health and food availability, clean environment, water, and the ecological support you create. That requires huge understanding. It's not at the level of basic fundamental, but beyond that. If you look at countries like US, there are 4,300 researchers per million of their population. And how many we have in India? It's only about 200 researchers per million of population. So that's a huge gap. If you want to see that the nation is going forward in terms of what we can be better off in next 2 decades, we all need to go ahead in terms of pursuing higher education with passion. You cannot simply say that I wanted to do one more degree for my job and salary and secure something good, government job or private job or something, but it needs to be a passion that one wants to establish something very different what is not known. That's the kind of a scenario we need to create, and there need to be thinking. That's how the ISOs and IITs and more things are coming, so that the higher knowledge can be inculcated into the students. It's very important. Can you create a health in terms of producing medicines which are non-toxic, and can you keep our population with the kinds of kind of diseases, like you have 10% of people are diabetic, 10% of people are hypertriglyceridemia, metabolic syndrome. There are several people with the cancer and several things. I mean, there is no food availability of food. And if you want to say that food is something you would like to look into, that's a chemistry. How do you control pest? What kind of pest? Whether you can use pheromones, which requires very minute quantity, maybe about less than 1%. Can I produce plant growth regulators so that you can get a yield which are natural? It's not a synthetic chemicals. All those things are there out in the literature, how to do those things, what are all things. And maybe about 40 years back, we never had seen that having a bottle in your room, water bottle. Now, clean water itself is becoming a necessity. So if you go back and try to clean up your chemistry that producing so much of waste, that itself is a wealth, a circular economy. And whatever process or chemicals or fertilizers or pharmaceuticals we produce may be an outdated process. It's about 2 decades old. You can have something very new in terms of looking at carbon footprints, and then see that the product produced does meet certain criteria, not only the pharmaceutical quality, but in terms of environmental aspects, in terms of the safety aspects, in terms of productivity aspects, all those things. That's the kind of a scenario where it's a beyond a degree, beyond a job, that what as an individual person could contribute in terms of growing the nation. I just want to take up one small story. There was a Michael Riordan. He was a doctor, medical doctor. So he was affected by dengue disease, and in 1980s there were not many of the I mean, even today, probably for dengue, not many drugs, but that point in time, in terms of any viral product, there are not many drugs, and everybody used to, I mean, people, several of them died because of the HIV and things. And this person thought that he would only make drugs for HIV and drugs for any of the viral. So he made, I mean, this company made, I mean, drugs for HIV, drugs for any viral hepatitis C, and became one of the fastest growing company in the world in last 2 decades. So you need to be having, this company is known as Gilead Pharmaceuticals. It's not even 20 years old, like very big companies, but this company only makes drugs for antiviral product, and nobody can compete with this company. In 1 year for hepatitis C, they made 10 billions. It's a history. Nobody could make, even Pfizer or somebody. Pfizer could make because of a vaccine what they have launched last year, but in terms of cure, a disease treatment, nobody could made in 1 year $10 billion. So this is the company who thinks in 1986, I want to make an antiviral product and make the best of the best drugs in the world, whether it is HIV, whether it is hepatitis C, whether it is any of the viral products. So one needs to have an objective that what he understands, what he can deliver, and what he can work for. There is no dearth of what we cannot solve, but it's only clarity what we wanted to do. And that requires definitely more number of people. It's not only an individual, is a Gilead. It's a company with a lot of people, with a lot of mind in it. So unless as a society we grow to the higher level of education, if you want to compete with China, US, or South Korea has 7,100 per million. It's much higher, which is a small country. So we need, I mean, definitely from the government side, I'm really happy that we have so many IITs, so many ISAs, so many NIPers and all those things, which helps in training, but we also need to use that opportunity to grow into that ladder.
Okay, thanks, Dr. Rajmanar. Dr. Mehta, there is a specific question by Mihina and Rajvi. They want to know about different fields of microbiology for pursuing masters, and there's another question from Mihina that which has more scope, industrial or medical microbiology?
I think for what programs in microbiology in masters is there, I think you should just simply Google because there is a long list. Industrial and medical microbiology, I think both have equal amount of opportunities, but I will give you a different perspective to that. If you are interested in the application side of it, then industrial microbiology will give you better opportunities. Medical microbiology, there is always a waiting period, and very rightly so, because if you get into, let's say, a pharmaceutical or even a regenerative medicine or stem cells or whichever area that you go for, there is a longish wait because you are ultimately going to affect human lives directly. So it is going to be a combination of R&D and lot of regulations involved. Whereas if you go for industrial microbiology, there are clear two advantages. One is that all that you do will have a very quick application availability. For example, enzymes. There's so much that enzymes is now replacing when it comes to chemicals. Right from your genes manufacturing, fabric manufacturing, to even biofuels and all of that. The long processes, chemical-driven processes are now getting replaced with enzymes, and the application is also very fast. And second, the regulation is also very lucrative, because if you are, converting something through a biological process, it is most likely going to be cost-effective and also less pollutant with a less carbon footprint, and better for the climate change issues. So you will get a lot of push from the government. So in terms of application, in terms of returns, and in terms of doing multiple things, industrial microbiology is very interesting. In terms of long-term benefits and something where you enjoy a combination of research and application, then medical microbiology is a better field.
Thanks, Dr. Mehta. What about the field of public health, sir? Public health is basically emerging as a major field now. So
that's what we realized at the time of the COVID epidemic, that most of the regulatory areas were on the medical and the public health side were headed by doctors. Now, suddenly the realization came that the doctors, obviously, they are a tremendously bright community, but they normally work on protocols. So the research aspect there was found missing, and it's across the world, not just India or any other place, because understanding of the virus, how it spreads, how it could be modified, what actually is something that's going to prevent it. All of these decisions were to be taken by somebody who had an understanding for life sciences rather than doctors. Doctors would come into action, especially when it comes to a treatment or the procedural part. So this was a big realization which came, and that's why most of the places that now you see, including WHO, where I think our India representative, she is the head right now, she comes with a biotechnology background. I think a combination of medical and biotechnology. But public health is going to be a very, very big area. As I said, hygiene, public health, sanitation, which will ultimately lead to environmental impact, climate change, all of that. Life scientists have a very big role to play.
Okay, thanks, Dr. Mehta. Dr. Rajmanar, regulatory affairs and also intellectual property rights. These are a couple of important fields wherein a science graduate with a law inclination, they definitely see a bright opportunity. So, are there enough opportunities in India for in pharma industry for intellectual property rights and to address the regulatory affairs thing? How we can work on the curriculum side, because that is where I think this is a new area. for us as well. What are the things that can be taken care,
Sure.
and what are the opportunities in this field, sir? Yeah.
So when you say intellectual property, we need a lot more in terms of when we say that we do certain aspects in certain manner that could be patentable. And most of the times we are not aware of that, so we don't do very seriously. So just to give a couple of examples, in a company right from the start of R&D, we are very conscious about what we do, how we do, what is the outcome, what aspect of the science we are addressing, how we are addressing, and how others have addressed. So then only you would be able to understand what is the difference in terms of what you are making. So sometimes it could be very small, but the opportunity, what the small thing which you do very different way, because what you do when you talk about the intellectual property, it is something different than what others would have thought. But you need to realize that the thinking is different, and you need to produce results that thinking works differently, and thinking has a merit, and thinking has differentiation, and thinking has application beyond this particular example. So you need to have outcome based on these 4 or 5 aspects, so that you would be able to block not only your particular interest at this point in time, but several of the aspects associated with that thought process. And many a times we could definitely get significant market opportunities, like there is 180-day exclusivity without any competition. That's very big opportunity. So you develop several products, but you develop one product with IP production that makes very different for you in terms of business performance. In terms of regulatory activity, yes, it's very important role in the organization. It is as big as any of the department in the organization, whether it is you have analytical, whether you have chemistry, whether you have IP, whether you have bioanalytical, all those things. But one needs to know that what is the regulatory requirements each of the country, because in India could be different, in Australia could be different, in America could be different, in Europe could be different, but it may not be so much different, but there are certain differences. And how do you understand? When you say the regulatory aspects in 1990 and 2023, it is very different. So now you say metallic impurities, you have xenotoxic impurities, you have validations, you have nitroso impurities. You have to think of when you are producing a material, what is that I am producing, what it could contaminate, because you are talking contaminations which nobody can see those things. Nobody can perceive. I mean, when you say ppm levels, 5 ppm level, it's nothing. But regulators insist I need to have that method validated. And as a regulatory aspect, you need to know that what is our process, what is the possibility of having such and such impurities or metallic impurities and process-related impurities, contaminants, carryovers. It could be solvent. It could be simple chlorinated solvent. So or water, what you would use, and water what kind of the metals it would have contamination, heavy metals. So these are all several aspects in terms of when you talk of regulatory, you prepare a dossier, and your dossier should look into that, what process, what requirement, what country it goes, and what regulation it requires. Do we have all those things as part of analytical method development, validation, process validation, production, quality assurance? All those things needs to be looked into. So there is a large scope. One would contribute and understand, make the dossier, because unless the dossier is perfect, regulators would not accept it. You would have done great job, but your dossier is not perfect.
Okay. Thanks a lot, sir. Dr. Mehta, there is an interesting question by Radhika regarding hands-on experience for college students and how early the student should get into field work. So for postgraduate programs, generally we have the internship in place and it's a compulsory component. Undergraduate, sometimes it becomes difficult, and also with the kind of training that they have after 12th. most of the times, at least final year students, they go for internship. And at the on the university campuses, hands-on experience is very much part of it, but sometimes there's a limitation of infrastructure, especially with respect to sophisticated instrumentation. And that is a problem which is faced by even the well-established state universities. So how important is internship, sir? And what would be an ideal stage for an internship for a student?
Radhika, very good question. And I would urge you that before you leave college, you should start a big mission to tell Dr. Patil and your dean and everybody to establish a fermentation facility in the university. The same exact problem that the students face after they finish graduation is what we face in the industry. Because we have a setup of fermentations systems. We have good downstream filtration system. We have formulation systems. Everything is in place. Now, if we want to employ somebody, there are opportunities where we would like to take up students fresh from the university so that we can teach them exactly what we require. But the problem is that while they have studied in theory, the practical aspect is missing and it becomes very difficult for us. The industry doesn't have time to invest so much into training programs, and especially us in a small place like Baroda, because even if we do that, then students get trained here on large scale fermentation systems and then they run away to Bangalore and Bombay where the pay scales are higher. So, obviously, if that is the kind of scenario, then we would rather have students who have come prepared. So my submission here is that there has to be a pilot scale manufacturing or the laboratory scale-up facility available at the university level, where right from the first year, students should be exposed to practicals like simple things like using the laminar flow, media preparation, to scaling it up to shaker systems, to fermentation systems and formulation systems, which will be useful in any field, right from agriculture, microbiology, environment, or pharmaceutical. So internship-wise, Gujarat State Biotech Mission or even the Department of Biotechnology are providing opportunities. We have, as we speak, about 8 students who are working here at our factory and laboratory right now, training in different aspects. But this is a very limited number, and there aren't enough industries to cater to the number of students. So ideally, if the university has its own setup, that would be the best. And it will also help us industry to pick up students immediately, because then we know that they have come up with some practical experience.
Okay, thanks, Dr. Mehta. Dr. Rajmanar, we often come back with feedback from the recruiters, especially in the field of chemistry, that industry requires chemists, but good chemists, and there are expectations from industry regarding a postgraduate student joining industry. So what are the kind of what is the kind of background a student is expected, and especially what are the things where the industry, from the academic point of view, there are improvements that are required, and also from the student point of view, what the student need to address with respect to fundamental knowledge, which can help in industry.
So one aspect is that in industry, at least in pharmaceutical, chemist creates the molecule. While creation, you should not do a shabby job. So once it is created and then when it goes into the production, you cannot come back every time. This is a problem, that is a problem. When you say a production, everything has its role. When you say that you use 10 volumes of solvent, so if you take 1 kg, there is 10 kg. You have an inventory. Then if you do 1 week, suppose if it's 100 kgs, so then you use 1 ton of material. In 1 week, if you use everyday production 10 tons, you need to store those materials. That becomes a big inventory. So one needs to be mindful. Why I would say 10 volumes? Can I use with 2 volumes of solvent? What is that solvent I chose? Why I chose? It's very important. You cannot just like that use a reagent. So you need to be choosing a reagent which would be safe, which would be the best in terms of reducing the yield, which would be the best in terms of producing the results much faster. It doesn't take in terms of energy like temperature, in terms of pressure, in terms of duration. All those things need to be looked at. If you're able to conduct a reaction in a couple of hours at room temperature, atmospheric pressure without solvent, that's the best thing one can do that. That's where a chemist can do a lot of things, even though the chemistry is known for decades. But you need to think of today. If you by 2050, we wanted to be, looking into the carbon footprints and carbon neutral, then we have to look into what is the waste generated in each of the operation and how do I can reduce. It's not only the chemicals, but in terms of energy, in terms of duration, in terms of solvent, in terms of number of steps, in terms of analytical steps. There are several things. We should not look into in terms of chemistry only reaction. So monitoring is one more thing which requires a lot of efforts. And how do you purify your material? How do you use reagents which can give only the desired product without any of the unwanted side products? So these are all several things. When you say somebody requires who can think better, this is that thinking better. That he doesn't do simply things what he knows, but he does things what is required for the day and how a business can sustain.
Okay, thanks, Dr. Rajmanar. Dr. Mehta, uh, biotechnology, biomedical science, and molecular biology, these are some of the buzzwords. But as academicians, and probably you will also agree with that, that fundamental knowledge of life sciences is very much critical. And then I think venturing into these fields after graduation would be an option. What is the fundamental difference? I mean, a student pursuing core life sciences and going into an applied branch like biotechnology or biomedical science.
There would be a slight difference between biotech and biomedical application, only from the perspective of biomedical being more focused to the medical applications. Having said that, I think the fields of biomolecular or regenerative medicine has tremendously opened up opportunities for life science students to get into the medical oriented field. I think that right from the DNA sequencing to drug delivery systems, where a lot of chemistry and biochemistry is involved, I think these are the kind of opportunities that are going to come up, more often now. Pharmaceuticals are looking for systems which would make the use of the drugs and medicines more effective. This is where biochemistry and the molecular sciences are going to be very useful. Regenerative medicines, skin tissue culture to cartilage development to even biosynthesized human parts, including your livers and kidneys and hearts, tissues, ligaments. All of this is going to be, which was earlier looking like a fantasy and a futuristic thing, is all getting into, realistic mode. People have started using this. Everywhere there is going to be a need for a fundamental science student who understands either engineering aspect of it or the medical application aspect of it, or something where a product or the process can be developed. Again, as I said, there are going to be two important areas where a life science student can get involved in these regions if you are looking at the application side of it, because if something is going to be made, somebody needs to be selling it. Now, these are very specialized fields, and you just can't have any, BCom and marketing person going out and talking about these things. You need a very strong technical background combined with your marketing or sales skills. And that kind of profile is going to be a very important profile and very profitable profile. So I would urge students to focus on the basic life sciences and see where the futuristic applications are going to happen. And if you have an affinity, on the marketing side or the application side, then combine it with like a MBA, marketing or specialization in those fields, and then try to, develop a product. You can have your own innovation, you can have your own startup, or just fill in the spaces where industries are looking for strong marketing people who understand life sciences. The same thing is true for biotechnology also. Whatever we make has to be sold. And unlike other products, anybody can probably go and sell a refrigerator and a TV and air conditioner. When it comes to something which has a background of life sciences, people will be comfortable to have somebody who understands the technicality, and industry are forever looking for people with a life science and MBA kind of combinations.
Okay, thanks, Dr. Mehta. It's almost an hour, sir. Dr. Rajmanar, Dr. Mehta, whatever questions we have received till now, I think all of them have been addressed. There are some very good suggestions that both of you have given. Dr. Rajmanar, your concluding remarks uh, on this overall scenario of the industry and the opportunities that the students can look forward.
Sure. No, one important message what I could give you, or what we can foresee, is that today India is known as pharmacy of the world. We did a lot of things. We could produce at cost-effective manner and what is required by world. But what in terms of what we get as a business is 40 billions, which is it's only 3% of the pharmaceutical world. Pharmaceutical business is 1.3 trillions. And we say that we supply every medicine, but that is an out of patent. But the scenario would change. If you develop drugs, and we need to develop drugs in India, and that would become a big change where we need a lot of people with a lot of understanding of chemistry, biology, pharmacology, toxicology, scanning, in vitro, in vivo, clinical programs, all those things. It's a tremendous future because this is going to be our growing field. So probably 20 years down the line, if you are not higher educated, probably that could be a handicap. Because people would be looking at what is the kind of level of your discipline, training, what you have. And the 40 billions needs to grow to 150 billion. Just producing, copying things doesn't going to improve our revenues. It's only when you do things very differently, competing across the globe with many of the big pharmaceuticals, then you are going to grow. And that will happen. And that would be a huge opportunity if 40 billion becomes 200 billions in next 2 decades. So
Okay.
that's the kind of an opportunity. The companies would be definitely doing that.
Okay, thanks a lot, Dr. Rajmanar. Dr. Mehta, a lot of important insights and non-conventional fields that you suggested to the students, and also very useful suggestions that we need to implement at our end as a university, especially the setting of fermentation and other facilities. And definitely we should work on them. Sir, your concluding remarks.
Well, I think half of the job has been done by the students when they chose the fundamental science field, life sciences and chemistry. So congratulations on that. And I think your area is absolutely open. The famous Roti Kapda Makan, like the Manoj Kumar blockbuster, are the areas that you can have contributions made into and opportunities. So I think just realize what your passion is in terms of aptitude. I wouldn't say in terms of subject. If you feel like doing research, then also you are in the best field. And if you are looking at application, then there is tremendous amount of opportunity waiting for you. You just need to convert it into process and products. And the one thing that I would urge in either field, if you choose, is have a very strong spirit of entrepreneurship. There are a lot of opportunities by the government in terms of startup and all, but just to have a more entrepreneurial outlook to whatever you are approaching, see what is going to be the advantage will be the best thing. I would like to tell you, give you an example of Louis Pasteur. We know of the Pasteur Institute in France and the pasteurization method. So the scientist who developed that said that a researcher is very happy when he sees success in his research, but his cup of joy is full and brimming when he sees that his research finds application. So I think that applies to all of us life sciences students. And that is the opportunity that you have right now. Your timing is brilliant because the world is open for life science applications, and you are right there to make it. So all the best to all of you.
Okay, thanks a lot, Dr. Mehta, Dr. Rajmanar. Your support has been tremendous in our academic endeavors, and we do receive a lot of such queries from the students, and we do conduct such events on regular basis. And definitely, if we have some more queries, we shall be sharing with those through emails, and obviously taking into fact the convenience at your end. And once again, on behalf of School of Science, Professor Ramchandran, he could not join because he's traveling. I thank you all. I thank all the students, and thank Dr. Rajmanar, Dr. Mehta.
Thank you. Thank you. Namaskar.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, and all the
Yeah.
best.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Bye. So with that, we come to an end. Thanks a lot to all the participants. Thank you.